you're bipolar.
I'm winning. I win here and I win there.
Winning.
He texted me coordinates of Chuck Lorre's house when he wants to drop a bomb on Chuck Lorre's house. I'm like, wow. He brings out a monocle. I was like, put that away. Tell the full truth about Epstein.
Apparently he's still alive, so maybe. Did you kill your husband? Oh no.
Like, so much of it is connecting with people and reading people, getting inside people's heads. So apparent, just the evil that's right there in your face.
So thanks so much for coming on the Hey Tampa Bay podcast, Andrea Canning.
Hey, Tampa Bay. Hey, cousin.
So I was going to say, how long have we known each other? Since birth, I guess?
Well, yeah. Actually, I'm older than you.
Way older.
By what, 3 months?
3 months, yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting watching a family member like yourself that I've known for so long, and the trajectory of your career has been so hard to believe.
Thank you.
You were always fairly tenacious, if I can use that word.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I've never gotten the chance to, we've never actually, the great thing about doing these podcasts is that the cameras are rolling. So there's going to be no distractions. None of our kids are going to be around, and we can really have a chat about our lives a little bit more in depth. Yeah. I've never really asked you, when did you know that you wanted to get into television, journalism, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it happened. Well, I went to University of Western Ontario, which is, for many of you who've probably never heard of that school, is near Detroit. It's, an hour and a half from Detroit, east of Detroit. I took psychology, was completely clueless about what I wanted to do. And that's why I took psychology, because I was clueless. No offense to anyone, who loves psychology. And
why would they be offended by that?
It was just, I guess it was the only course I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So after that, then I wanted to go into advertising after that, because I'm really creative and I thought it would be a good creative outlet. Went to sort of shadow an advertising agency for a bit that did some work with my family's company, and really just got the TV bug from that, because they were doing these commercials. And then I got into a school that is now known as Toronto University, formerly Ryerson University. I took radio and television arts there, and then still didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do, but I got an internship at Baywatch in LA.
Of course,
right?
And how did that happen?
Well, I had been to LA the year before. I'd gone there and taken some acting classes for fun at UCLA, and then for the summer, and then wanted to go back. So I went back because I needed an internship for my university program. Yeah. And so there weren't a ton of internships in TV in the summer. There's a lot, because, a lot of shows are we're on hiatus at the beginning, they pick up near the end of the summer, but Baywatch was filming all summer long, and it was the #1 show in the world. And so I got that internship. And then after that, I went to work at Extra, the TV show, as an intern. And that's really, I think, when it solidified that I wanted to get into broadcasting, and
you knew that maybe
this
is something I can do.
Right. And Extra was so nice. I started as an intern, and one of the executive producers called me in and was like, we would really like you to stay at an entry level job. And
wow.
So I stayed, and then I made my reel. I would trade babysitting for editing for my resume, my reel that I had to send out to local news stations. I hired a voice coach, who went with me, hired a cameraman for the day to shoot a reel. And that's all I had was, this one reel, sent it out to 50 stations, and got a couple of calls. Only one hired me, and that was Mississippi, and off I went.
I'll never forget, you said that in Mississippi, there was one particular house they sent you to.
Oh,
can you tell that story?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was on my way out. I worked crazy hours there. I would have to come in at 1 a.m. I wrote and produced the morning show, and anchored the morning show. And then I'd have to go report on a story as well, which I had to shoot myself. And edit. I basically never slept.
So you weren't on camera? You would have the camera on your shoulder and just interview?
For the stories.
For the stories.
So I anchored the morning show, and then I would go out and I would
cut to that.
And then I would have to do a story for the evening news, which is now seems insane that somebody would work that many hours. But I did. And one day I was on my way out, I think it was a Friday, and the phone rang, and I stupidly or not stupidly answered the phone because I was probably exhausted at that point. Picked up the phone, and it was a lady, and she was like frantic and shrieking, and there was a snake in her neighbor's house, and I'm like, okay. Like call emergency services. I don't know. Anyway, she's like, please come over, please. There's big problems here. And like, for some reason I went over. And I mean, what I walked into though was no laughing matter. It was so sad. It was an elderly couple. The husband was blind and the woman was in a wheelchair, and their house was like a horror show. It was just feces everywhere, animals, bugs. Like no one had cleaned their house in God knows how long. Their food was all rotted, and then I find out from the neighbor that someone was stealing their Social Security checks as well.
Okay.
So they had nothing. And so the neighbor, this woman, bless her heart, I can't remember her name, she cleaned up their entire house. And she said she had nightmares like after that. And I remember showing up at her church on a Sunday. I only had the camera for 1 hour because like they needed it for the rest of the news people, and we only had so many cameras at the station. So I showed up at the church and I was waiting, and it wasn't like, it was a one room white church, like painted white, and couldn't, like, it just wouldn't end. And I was like, I'm gonna lose my camera time here. So I just walked into the church during the service, and it was a black church, and I am blonde, blue-eyed, all black church. I walked in, and it was like a needle scratching on a record. Like, who are you and why are you here? And I was looking for this woman because she was such a saint, and I wanted to like profile her aside from what she did, for the house. I wanted to like go and just get some video of her at her church, and because obviously her goodness is a lot of that comes from her religious faith, and everyone was so happy I was there.
Wow.
Because I was there because I was there for her.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry that I can't remember her name at this moment.
Well,
but
it's been a while.
They were so proud of her. And there I was, there we were, the news, profiling her and all the good things that she did. And the service just didn't continue from that moment. I'm sure some people will find fault in me breaking up a service. But you know what? It turned into this love fest for this woman and all she had done. And she was so proud, and they were so proud of her. And like, it was just like one of those really good memories of like all these just incredibly nice people in this church. And like, I'll never forget it. Like I walk in, I disrupt their service, and they welcome me with open arms. And it was really a magical moment. And it was such a great piece because not only did we profile our woman, the woman who saved the day for the couple, but also we got it so they were getting their Social Security checks again, and were being properly taken care of. And there's a weed whacker.
There's a weed whacker outside. Here, let me.
But isn't that the fun of podcast, though?
It is, yeah.
Leaving in all the little,
and it is my fault too. Yeah, those are
leaving all the little moments in, right, of things that go wrong during podcasts.
Well, it's by the way, Everett Vance, Andrea, you met earlier, but my co-host here, he was in the military, police officer, became a really successful business guy, and one of his businesses is landscaping. So this is your fault.
It is my fault.
Okay,
so
you should be out there.
What branch?
Air Force.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I know you're going to be talking to my husband Tony, who's a Marine.
Yeah, so they're going to have a lot in common.
My entire family was Marine Corps, but I was the only one that passed the ASVAB, so I joined the Air Force.
Yeah.
Got it. Sometimes you got to diversify, right?
Is that speaking well of you or badly of your family?
No, it's a joke. They say the Marines are the toughest, but
yes,
I can hang with the Marines.
Right.
So you were. Should we wait for this guy to finish blowing his leaves or whatever?
Oh, it's a leaf blower. Yeah, not a weed whacker.
Not a weed whacker.
My apologies for that.
That's okay.
Oh, he's coming back. Oh, maybe not. Oh. You guys need to soundproof this room.
Yeah.
And then you're always good.
It's actually fairly good because you'd normally hear a lot of street sounds, but when there's a guy with a
right next to the studio.
It gets tricky.
Yeah.
So you started talking about doing an internship on Baywatch.
Yeah.
Is there anything more to that story?
Baywatch?
Yeah, being on Baywatch. I remember.
Well, not on Baywatch, but Yeah, I worked in David Hasselhoff's office. He was trying to launch his music career. Yeah. Baywatch, as I said, was, #1 show in the world. They were very busy, and I was their first intern that they'd ever had.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun, and we were based at the their little mini headquarters that they had. It was not, it wasn't a huge operation.
Yeah.
They had an indoor set where the offices were, which was the big tank, where they did all the drowning scenes or, sharks or whatever. And then a lot of the rest of it was shot on the beach, at Will Rogers State Beach, or sometimes they would go further north.
Yeah.
But Will Rogers was where they really liked to, near Santa Monica, I'm not sure if it's in Santa Monica or near Santa Monica, but that's where they did a lot of the shooting, and people would come out for Pamela Anderson, all the photographers, she was a big deal, obviously. So it was just a really super fun experience of a lifetime.
So I guess fast forwarding a little bit, obviously everyone that's watching this is going to be very aware of you being a Dateline correspondent. Do some of these things, I'm guessing, I find that with my career and my life, a lot of things inform what you do today. And I would go all the way back even to the psychology. That must weigh in often to when you're doing what you do on Dateline.
Yeah, it's just so much of it is connecting with people and reading people and getting inside people's heads, whether killers and so definitely there's a psychology element. I couldn't pinpoint what it was I learned in college that but I'm sure it's there.
Yeah.
I think all of our learned experiences all play into what we do. Well,
2 of your other cousins are forensic psychiatrists.
Which is crazy.
Do you find that strange?
Your brothers.
Yeah. Because you're basically a forensic psychiatrist in a way.
Except for I'm not as smart as they are. So,
I think you are, but
they're a couple of geniuses. But
Jeff and Rob, shout out to Jeff.
Yes, hey Jeff and Rob. I know, how weird is that though? When I tell people that I ended up with 2 cousins who are forensic psychiatrists, they're like, "Wow!"
Basically, half the cast of Frasier are your cousins.
So we do have interesting dinner table conversations about people that we talk to.
Yeah, well, we had dinner last night, and I had to laugh because I think it came up. The question came up: how many times have you said, "Did you kill your husband?"
Yes,
and you said it's been a lot.
A lot, but more, did you kill your wife? Because it's, there's more men than women for sure.
Of course.
We do have our fair share of women on Dateline, but definitely more men.
So I was always interested in the way that you shoot Dateline and the way that the format that it follows makes it so edge of your seat. Do you follow that format pretty specifically, or do you sometimes have to, I'm guessing you have to pivot a lot depending on the subject matter and who you're interviewing.
Yeah. Some stories are more complicated, than others. Some are very straightforward, it's just chronological A to Z. And we do have great writing on the show. So, we know how to keep people engaged, and the stories themselves, are very, there's so many twists and turns, and you want to see, what happens to this person. But then I did one Dateline recently that was such a bizarre sort of patchwork of 2 stories. And one was in Texas and a woman died in a fire. And then eventually her husband was held accountable, but he had started this affair with her friend, and then she ended up nothing happened to her. Then she moved to Southern Illinois, and then years later she gets arrested in a murder for hire plot of her husband. And so then was she somehow connected to the Texas story, which she has never been charged in that case. But like putting those two stories together was just like not the norm.
How did it turn out? Not to no spoilers. But.
Well, I did. I mean, it's already aired. But I ended up interviewing the killer in Texas in prison, and then for the house fire, and then I ended up interviewing his ex-girlfriend, the woman who took out the murder for hire plot. I interviewed her in prison. And then were they connected? Like, is she the common thread or not? Even, so it was two very different cases, but then you have this one woman at the center.
Yeah.
So that, and also the first person she called when she got arrested for allegedly trying to have her husband murdered was her husband.
Right.
That's her call that she makes. And he's standing by his woman. So as of when we aired, I don't know what's going on now, but so that was really strange. And then like going and interviewing the guy from Texas and saying like, do you think did she have something to do with this? And you're protecting her. And then he blamed his son. He said, I'm going to set the record straight. My 6-year-old son set the fire.
Okay.
Like it was just, the whole thing was just really a crazy story.
Well, as an ex-police officer.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, did you find it hard? Sometimes you're interviewing these crazy people, like turning it off when you go home. Like,
sometimes it's more than others, but I think most of the time when I interview killers, for example, they deny, right? So I'm throwing evidence at them and I didn't do this, it's the times when they say, yes, I did do this. Like they have a plea deal and they've confessed, and then they're recounting the crime to you.
Right.
And this one man, this is cover your ears if you don't want to hear this, but like this killer went into his ex-girlfriend's mother's bedroom, stabbed her 47 times, strangled her, and then took her to a lake and shot her, like in the face. And he's telling me the story. And I'm just like, I remember my photographer afterwards, we were leaving the prison. He's like, I need a shower.
Yeah.
Like that one really like stuck with me because it makes it so apparent just the evil, like that's right there in your face. Like that, wow, people are capable of this. And he's telling me that he's done this. And there's just something that's like even more like unsettling when even though the other cases, they did it, they're like denying it to you. So it's like a back and forth. Well, right. This happened and this happened and you said this. And like when they're just telling you what happened, it's very disturbing.
Yeah, that reality.
Yeah, it's reality. It makes it real, right?
Did you ever have problems getting home and letting stuff go from your day to day?
No, because my experience with law enforcement was kind of in the military, so I didn't really see what, some of my other friends that are, when SO here and you hear some of the things that, they deal with on a daily basis. So what I dealt with was a little bit different, but I can't imagine. Just,
the sheriff's office like deals, they have homicide detectives and that's what they do. Right.
Of course.
So they see that kind of stuff all the time. And it's not always, Dateline worthy cases that are going to end up on TV. It's it could be gang related, drug related, things that aren't as like, they're not mystery cases. Right. They're
pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. I think those are tough cases for detectives day in, day out.
Yeah.
And what about like building trust with when you're interviewing someone like that and getting them to open up to you? Are there techniques you use? Is it just an intuitive thing that you have?
Mostly intuitive. But I mean, I certainly start off with wanting to give someone their say and their platform. I mean, that's what I've promised them, right? Is a platform, which is true. Like I don't mislead anybody about what questions I'm going to ask. I don't tell anyone what questions I'm going to ask,
and they're usually okay with that.
I mean, they have to be if they're sitting down doing an interview that they have
agreed to.
They have a, no holds barred. Like there's certainly times where an attorney will be sitting next to someone and will say, she's not, or he's not going to answer that, which is fine. That's totally their prerogative. But, we don't give questions to anyone in advance. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
yeah, no, it's a policy. So if you want the question, and it's come down to before where people will just say that I'm not doing it if you're not going to show me the questions. Like we're like, okay, I guess we're not doing it. Yeah. I mean, we'll give them topics sometimes, but usually it's pretty obvious what the questions are. Like we're just taking you through. Like especially if you've already been to trial, it's not going to be that different. Like everything's out there, so you shouldn't really be that surprised. I generally don't walk in with big gotcha questions because there's usually everything's already out there. Like I don't know new things.
Yeah.
But occasionally, like there was a woman I had interviewed in California and in Bakersfield, and I had done an interview with her right when she was arrested for killing her husband, but released immediately because they didn't have enough evidence. So I interviewed her, and then nothing happened. So the story went away. Years later, she was arrested again for the murder of her husband, right? So they'd found new evidence. And I remember like I had done a walk and talk with her in the backyard in the first one. And I believe if I'm getting this right, she was not wearing glasses. And then later she said, well, it came down to some surveillance video. And the person was not wearing glasses. And she said, well, it couldn't be me. I can't even see. I can't see anything without my glasses. I can't do anything. I'm like, but you walked with me in the backyard without glasses. So what do you, and she's, oh no. Like, and so that was kind of that was a gotcha moment, but it was really in the moment. It was unintentional gotcha moment. Cause like I had this other experience with her from years earlier that I remembered.
You must be amazed by some of these criminals that eagerly want to come on and talk to you and probably knowing full well that they're just exposing themselves to all kinds of additional scrutiny.
Well, if they're already, yes, because Dennis Murphy, who's on Dateline, likes to call me the DA, the district attorney of Dateline.
Yeah.
Because I'm very I
tenacious, like you were when you were a kid.
Tough questions. But usually if a criminal is already prosecuted, they've been found guilty. They
don't think though that this is my chance to like prove them wrong. This is my
No, I do.
That must be a bit of
I believe that
the bait that gets them on not bait, but just incentive.
Common things you hear on Dateline. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He thinks he can convince anyone of anything. He thinks he's above the law. He thinks blah, blah, blah. So when they go on Dateline, I think, yes, there's an element of like, I'm going to convince everyone, including her, that I didn't do this, and you can try. Certainly that's like, here, go, have at it. I don't know that anyone's going to believe you, but you can certainly try, but I am going to challenge you if you're trying to say you didn't do this. And the cool thing is that a lot of times, murder defendants are told not to take the stand, or the attorney, the defense attorney will advise them it might not be the best idea to take the stand. Ultimately, of course, it is up to the defendant if they want to take the stand. But you will see in a lot of murder trials that they do not, because it really opens them up to that cross-examination from the prosecutor. The defense attorney is a piece of cake, right? So your own attorney, they're trying to make you look great.
Softball question.
It's when the prosecutor comes up that you're opening up like a whole can of worms of what they can talk about. But so they don't take the stand, but then they will agree to do an interview with us, with Dateline. And so we get to ask those questions that the prosecutor never got to ask, which is kind of cool.
That's so cool.
It's crazy. If they're already in jail, what do they have to lose at that point? Other than
they've already been convicted. There's always appeals, but appeals are 1 in a million. They're tough. They're tough to get anyway. But they're taking a bit of a gamble if
people can refer to that if they ever were going to get further along with their appeal. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you were just on Dateline with telling Andrea Canning this, and this.
Where that comes into play even more is when murder defendants do interviews either before their trial has even started with us, or if it's a hung jury and then they do an interview with us and then the prosecutor is planning on retrying them. So then what happens is then the prosecutors try to get our footage to see if they can catch them in a lie. But we as journalists don't like handing over
it
material.
compromises your ability to get the next guests.
Yeah,
potentially.
Sure. If you're, and it's just a policy. We don't just hand over like our material, you know? And so, so they will, sometimes it ends up a legal issue where they're trying to get it. And New York State, which is where Dateline is, has very powerful shield laws, which protects journalists and material. But I've been called as a witness in murder trials. My interviews have been subpoenaed many times.
Wow.
So because they want to see what's in there, right? And what usually ends up, a lot of times why they lose is because the prosecutor's trying to get this material, is that you can't just go on a fishing expedition of, I just want to see the whole thing in case there's something in there. You have to know that there is something in that interview that you have, are on good authority that this person said this, and it goes right to like the heart of this trial, and then you may win your case if you can prove that. But unless it's aired already, how do you know what's in that interview? We could have talked about the weather for 2 hours. Like we didn't, but you don't know what's in there. So you're fishing, right? And then they will use, though, our interviews if they've already aired. So you will see a lot of Dateline interviews that have aired on Dateline ending up in the courtroom.
Has anyone been potentially either exonerated or prosecuted based on some of the work you've done? I'm guessing you've affected some.
So less me. We have a really great producer / sometimes correspondent, Dan Slepian, who does wrongful convictions.
Oh.
And he's kind of devoted most of his career to that.
Wow. And
he has definitely made a difference in countless people's lives with his reporting. And yeah, he's amazing with that. And he's your guy. And then there's all these great organizations like the Innocence Project.
Yeah.
And I was just actually texting with my friend Emily Simpson from the Real Housewives of Orange County. She devotes some of her time to an Innocence Project organization in Southern California. And I had her on my podcast, Dateline True Crime Weekly, to talk about that. So, there's a lot of organizations out there, but sadly, we know that there's people who are incarcerated who should not be there. And hopefully, with technology and DNA and digital evidence, you can just hope that those wrongful convictions are maybe getting fewer and far between. We can hope, because, back in the old days, there was no DNA. There, it was all witness like testimony, and people get it wrong. And so I hope that we're moving towards, fewer people, of course, being incarcerated for crimes they didn't commit, because I can't think of much worse than that.
How much of an interview is edited out? Because I'm kind of intrigued. I didn't really think about the deepness of it. Yeah.
Because our interviews are so long. I mean, like a standard detective interview will be like 3 hours. Wow. I think my record is like 4.5 hours, which is ridiculous. But, standard detective is usually about 3 hours. Family interview could be 3 hours. Because remember, you're condensing these long cases, right? If it's on Dateline, it probably was a long time, years, like stretching years. And you're trying to put that all this evidence in, and you're trying to go from the beginning to the verdict, right? The beginning where the crime happened to the verdict. So, we just really work hard at choosing the strongest sound bites and material that we think really tells the story in the best way. But yeah, obviously tons of it ends up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Is that ever frustrating where you're just like, I need more time to tell the story, which is what I find exciting about having you on a long form podcast format where there's just more time to tell the full story. Yeah. Is that ever frustrating? You got to condense it down and you're like, For someone who worked on day of air, meaning like Good Morning America, local news, where you get like a minute and a half to like 2 minutes for a story. I never thought in a million years I would say that, 2 hours on Dateline wasn't enough. And there's commercials in there, so it's not quite 2 hours, but I never thought I would say that. But yeah, there's times where we're
like trying to make it across the finish line because we don't quite have enough. You know, the story kind of runs out of gas, but we're like, we can get there. We can make it 2 hours. And then there's some where you're just like, oh my gosh, we don't have room for all this material. There's just so much going on in this case. So it could go either way. Usually it kind of lands somewhere like nicely in the middle where it's just feels like the right amount.
Have you had anyone, I'm sure you have, on Dateline where they were, exonerated of the crime and you're sitting there talking to them and you're like, I feel like you actually did it. Has that ever happened?
So in my near 14 years at Dateline have not had, I don't know that I've had very many of those because usually the people are found guilty. There's definitely some where, the person got off or they were somehow involved maybe in the crime, with somebody else and they didn't get the same punishment or they didn't get arrested because there wasn't enough evidence or the person wouldn't turn on them.
Yeah.
So there's definitely people walking around free who probably shouldn't be. Or the other thing you hear about is like the sentence is too light, which is a common complaint. Or if one person rolls on the other and then they get a sweetheart deal because they rolled and you're just like, that's it? That's all they're getting and they helped clean up the crime and they, were new about it and that happens. Prosecutors go for the big fish, right? Like maybe it's the husband that they want and it's the mistress who gets the lighter sentence, but she knew about it, So there's all, it's human, right? It comes down to people. Like these are people making these decisions. These are juries, right? Everyday people.
Yeah.
These are prosecutors deciding, who do I really want to get in this? Because I'm struggling to get both. These are judges who are delivering sentences. It's all humans, right? Like, so it's kind of subjective, right? To like who's dealing with what.
Yeah. We all have our biases. We all have, of course.
Yeah. What's your upbringing? Yeah. What's your ethnicity? What's your job? Yeah. What did you experience in your childhood or with your spouse or there's a million factors that you can throw into the pot, right?
And how was the jury selected too? And how manipulated was that process?
Jury selection is so important.
It's wild to me the way, that works.
People make tons of money as jury consultants, right? Trying to handcraft the right jury that they think will help them. Yeah. It's and your social media will come into play. They'll look at jurors like social media and that all kinds of stuff that goes into the court system. Trials and
100%. This is going to be it's possible this is an annoying question, but because I'm your cousin, I think I'm allowed to ask it. Winning. Yeah. Charlie Sheen.
I was waiting. I was glad you brought it up.
I know, it's amazing. It still lives on.
One of the most viral moments imaginable. Has that become like a dirty word to you now, or is it just like a fun memory? And I'd love it if you could just tell a little bit of the story of how he sought you out.
He did. Yeah. Cause so I was on Good Morning America at the time and the story was really blowing up. But he had not done an interview. He did do one really short radio interview with somebody that was not in depth. And so my bosses, it was late and they're like, oh, Charlie talked to a radio station. Or I don't think it was a radio station. It might've been a sports radio. I can't really remember, but they said, will you just do a piece on it? Yeah. And it was late at night. It was 10. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to go to sleep kind of thing. And I was like, fine. So I did this. I put this piece together very quickly. It was just some sound bites from Charlie. And then in the morning, I was live on the set with George Stephanopoulos and Robin Roberts. And Charlie said in this interview, he said, doesn't anyone get me, or why doesn't anyone get me? And that was the last piece, the last moment in the pre-taped, the package, the pre-taped piece. And it came out to me. And and Charlie was laughing when he said it. So I was laughing. And I said to George, I'm like, yeah, why doesn't anyone get him? And I was just laughing. And so I walk off the set, and George laughed too. And I walked off the set and I was like, oh, I feel like if I had his phone number, I could get this interview. But I'm, and there's bigger people at ABC, Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, they're all trying to get it. And I never, my name doesn't usually get thrown into those big interviews, right? Especially back then, because I was just, a lowly, reporter or whatever.
Wouldn't go that far, but sure.
So I get back to my desk and the phone rings, and he says, I'm Charlie Sheen's publicist, and he saw your piece this morning. He was working out in his gym, and he caught your piece, and he was wondering if he could call you. I'm like, well, yeah. So he called me, and he's like, look, first of all, I loved how you laughed. You're the first person to laugh at this. And I was like, well, it was a funny moment. I'm like, I don't know that the whole thing was a laughing matter, but that was funny.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, I kind of, if I do an interview, he was still working on 2.5 Men. He hadn't been shut out yet. Yeah. And he said, I kind of have to do this interview with CBS, because they're signing my paychecks, and I was like, I totally get it. No worries, but let's stay in touch. And, if anything happens, and we did stay in touch. I had his cell phone number. We were texting. He texted me the coordinates of Chuck Lorre's house because my husband, was a fighter pilot. And he said, if Tony wants to drop a bomb on Chuck Lorre's house, I'm like, wow. He's like, here are the coordinates. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So, this went on for not long. This went on for 10 days. And everything was progressively getting worse for him, during those 10 days. Yeah. Until the point where they actually locked him out of the set. They stopped filming. It was over. No one knew it was over, but it was we're ceasing production.
Yeah.
He had the goddesses at the time. You remember those 2 ladies that went everywhere with him? Yeah. So he went to the Bahamas with the goddesses. And then I feel like it was a Saturday morning. I came out from the subway on the Upper West Side, and there was a voicemail, and it was like, hey, you're up. Let's do this. Come to the Bahamas right now. Okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, okay. So I book I rush home. I book a ticket to the Bahamas. I'm on my way to the airport. And then I get a thing no, he's been kicked out of the hotel. He's on his way back to LA. Go to LA.
Okay.
So I go to LA, and we go there the night before with the woman that was working at ABC, and I went over, and he was there with Lenny Dykstra, the baseball player. Yeah. And they were there, and we just chit-chatted a bit, and he wanted us to come over in the morning and start really early to show him working out. Mm-hmm. And went over the next morning and that's how it all got started, and it's kind of a wild ride once I was there.
I think you stayed very, very composed. You might not be able to say too much about it. I don't know, but
I can say anything.
Great. Perfect. All right, let's go.
It's over. It's fine.
We're going to get a call from Charlie Sheen.
I haven't talked to him since.
Wow. Yeah. So just staying composed in that setting really, I think, showed how talented you were. That would be one of the trickiest navigations of an interview, I would think.
Yeah. Well, he was he started chain smoking, which we normally don't allow in interviews, but I was just at that point, I'm like, okay, whatever, just keep going. He's drinking Orange Crush. There's a meme out there that I kind of forgot about that sorry, that is my chair. I'm moving my chair.
Yeah, no, I know. We got to oil our chairs.
It's very squeaky. So he brings out a monocle, and I forgot about that, but one of my daughters showed it to me because it always seems to pop up, the Charlie memes from that interview, and I was like, put that away. I felt like I was, when I watch it now, I feel like I'm scolding a small child or something. And then awesome. There was a man in the room that I knew to be his drug dealer.
Okay.
But he was saying he wasn't doing drugs, and Radar Online, that the website, had come that day and given him a drug test that was clean. It's like he didn't. But the drug dealer's in the room, and I said to Charlie, I asked him a question like, have you rid yourself of all the bad influences since you're trying to be clean? And I in the corner of my eye, I see the drug dealer in the room, who, by the way, has since been killed after that, a few years later, whatever.
Is that a possible Dateline?
No. Don't know.
Okay.
And Charlie said, I don't think you want to ask me that question. And the guy was like right there. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll move on. Like, that was one I didn't need to be tenacious or push. I was like, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Wow.
That's insane.
So that whole interview. And then this producer I was with afterwards was like, I was like, how do you think it was? He goes, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was all over the place. It was terrible. And I'm like, oh shoot, was it? Like,
so,
it was
sorry,
such a.
You're one of your producers.
This is the producer who was with me, and I'm like, oh no, was it really that bad? Like, was it really like? Because it was such a haze,
whirlwind,
right? Like a whirlwind, like and so I'm feeling kind of bad that this producer, said that the interview wasn't that great, and so the Monday morning, we decided to start airing clips of the interview. We ended up doing a 2020 special. But that Monday morning, I started getting like texts from people, and I got this one text from a booker at Good Morning America who was at the airport, who said that it's on every TV, and there's all these travelers like crowded around the TVs looking at the interview. It was when the airports used to show. Remember, they used to show like morning shows and different CNN and he said, everyone is looking at this interview at the airport. And I thought, wow. And then it just started to like snowball. It was like picking up steam like crazy. And so then that was a Monday. And then Tuesday, they decided they were trying to decide if they would blow out this show, Detroit something or other, that was like a very short-lived ABC drama. And then he had gone on Larry King that Monday night. I believe it was Larry King, if I'm getting that right. And they thought, you know what? Now he's starting to talk to other people. Like, maybe we should just not do the special. And I remember like my boss at the time, Chris Vlasto, was like, just keep telling him, ride the wave. No. It's good. We're going to hit the top of the wave. Like, they have to do this.
Yeah.
And that no one watched that Detroit. It was like, I feel like it was on like one season. Did not do well. And so they were like, all right, fine. You know what? We'll air it. It had like monster ratings, the Charlie Sheen special. So it was the right move because it did really, really well. Thank God they aired it. And then I remember Twitter was not huge yet, but it was, starting. And it was a reporter from one of the entertainment magazines said something like a word for like one eye on the interview and one eye on the door, like all at the same time. Like, something, it was like a really funny comment they had made.
So in the end, it definitely had a very positive effect on your career trajectory.
Yeah, because
I mean, you're already on Good Morning America. You were doing all this stuff, but this is obviously pre-Dateline, right? This was
pre-Dateline.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it had a positive effect on my career. And I remember the morning after the show aired, our president from ABC was there, and he was like, "Oh my! I watched it on the plane. It was so good." And
you were so composed.
thank you.
Not just anyone could. Like, you're one of the only people I think that could have. You were the perfect person for that interview.
I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people who
can
do it. But
you have this. You have a great laugh, and I've always loved your laugh. But you showed that you found the humor in it, but you also were like riding that line of like, okay, buddy, like let's.
It was a little of both, right?
Yeah,
and
which is, I think, really difficult to do.
And I have always, from the time I was in local news, I have been drawn to the bizarre stories, right? Bizarre people, bizarre stories, quirky. The quirkier for me, the better. Like I just love that.
So that must have just been hitting on every cylinder.
Right, every cylinder. So I feel like it was like, yeah, it was meant to be. I mean, my goodness, some of the...
What was he saying? He was drinking tiger blood or something?
Tiger blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen. You know,
Winning.
and that was a...
Well,
that was
it's
a
kind
wild...
of the invention, not the invention, but that one of the first truly viral, because you were saying just Twitter was just starting to become more of a thing. So
Yeah. It was viral, and they were making songs like that were getting millions of views, and
like
now
auto-tuning
and then like, you know, my daughters are, you know, they're like, oh, Charlie Sheen's daughter is doing like a meme with your voice, you know, Sammy Sheen or whatever. Like it's like they just constantly pop up. You know, and then the documentary, of course. My interview was in the Charlie Sheen documentary on Netflix, so that everything resurfaced again. And it was funny because Charlie did bring up my name in a bunch of interviews promoting the documentary. And then it was Joe Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan kept saying that lady. And I was like, is anyone going to say my name, or am I just going to be that lady? And so Charlie kept saying Andrea Canning, and then Joe's like, that lady.
That's got to be another meme in the making.
Right. So it was kind of funny being called that lady by Joe Rogan.
You have 6 kids.
Yeah.
Beautiful kids. We were just out for dinner with them all last night with my 2 daughters, which was awesome.
Yeah.
They've grown up with you being in the spotlight. Is it just not a big deal to them? I mean, you're not only famous to the layperson, but you're also so, what's the word, like A-list celebrities want to talk to you and meet you because they are fans.
Yeah, we do have a lot of A-list fans.
Yeah.
They just come out of the woodwork, and you know, it's random. Like they'll be asked a question. Yeah. Like, what's your favorite show? And Taylor Swift is like, Dateline. I mean, she's said it a million times.
Does that feel really crazy to you to hear that, or is it just?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because like you do your stories, and like I do my stories for people watching, right? Like I try to put my head in what would people want to know, right? What question would that person sitting in their chair at home want to ask, right? Yeah. But then at the same time, it's kind of a weird thing because you know people are watching, but then you kind of feel like no one's watching. So like,
last night our GM said I fall asleep to Dateline, and I'm like, Greg, that's a little offensive, buddy.
Like, is that a compliment or not?
Yeah, I think it is.
Maybe Keith is like the mellow voice that'll really put you to sleep, right? Because he's got that like very wonderful, mellow, you know, easygoing voice. But yeah, I mean, we have, you know, the Kardashians talk about Dateline, Amanda Seyfried, Kristen Chenoweth.
And
Kaylee
have you become friends with any of these? Have they reached out to you?
Yeah, I have become friends with some of them. Like,
it's so wild.
And it is through Dateline, right? It's like usually through Instagram where you start. Either you have a mutual friend, or there's Instagram where you just like
someone DMs you, and
they DM you, or they comment on your show or something, and then suddenly you're exchanging messages with that person, and
that's so crazy.
And they're real people too, right? So like,
of course.
You know,
it's easy to forget that, but yeah,
like they're very famous, but they're also, you know, human beings, right? They're, and I mean, I haven't heard like in a People like 10 questions or something, Denzel Washington was like Dateline, you know, so, and Charlize Theron was on one of the late night shows a long time ago talking about Dateline. I think it's Cardi B, right? Is it Cardi who has Dateline in her lyrics? I'm not sure
I think so.
I think I'm getting that right, but I could be wrong. And it's also in the zeitgeist, like in TV shows and movies where people crack jokes. You know, I don't want to be in an episode of Dateline, or you know, it's you don't hear people saying, 2020, even though you know that's a popular show too, but you don't ever hear that necessarily really in the zeitgeist. Like people don't use.
Dateline is ubiquitous.
Right. And it's something about the name, right? That it's a brand. Yeah. And I should remind everyone at the heart of the brand is like, we really care about people a lot. You know, oh my gosh.
And that comes through. If that didn't come through, I think it would be tough to have the show be as successful as it is without finding the heart in something that is wrapped around something so dark.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like nothing hurts me worse than if a family would be upset. Like the family of a murder victim after a Dateline. Yeah. If a family is upset, I have not done my job. Like I'm upset. And thank God that almost never happens. You know, I mean, I can count on my hand the number of like shows that if anyone's been upset, and I certainly try to make it right if I can. But, you know, that's why we put so much time and care and effort and energy and getting it right. Like even just fact checking and all of it. Like I want them to be satisfied with our show. Happy. I don't know if happy is the right word because someone has died, but like I want them to say thank you for honoring
some kind of cathartic experience.
You really honored like our daughter or my husband or my wife or, you know, or my whatever it may be, like that you did them justice, you know, and or they also really like it too when I do hold the killers, you know, like hold their feet to the fire, right? Because again, usually they're not testifying in court. Yeah. So it's my chance to really ask them those tough questions, and the families generally appreciate that because at first a lot of times they're like, "Oh, you're not talking to him, are you?" You know, because they don't want a platform.
They don't want him given a platform,
right? But then when we say, "Well, we do offer to everyone like a platform, from the detectives to the prosecutors to the families to the killers." And then when they see the show and they see how I am with that person who's been convicted, they kind of, you know, breathe a sigh of relief that it wasn't, you know, some softball interview. And by the way, if you're innocent, the tough questions should work in your favor. Yeah. That you're being given that opportunity to explain. Yeah. Like if you're guilty, well, it speaks for itself.
I think one question I have for you is, I know you're probably in a position to interview whoever you want, but is there anyone like a particular case or, you know, A-list celebrity that if you could interview anyone, who would it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. Who would I want to interview?
Other than Luke and I.
Well, I don't want her ever interviewing me because that means I'm on Dateline.
People say they want to be on Dateline. I'm like, no, you don't. Because it means, I mean, unless you're a detective, you know, or a lawyer or something. Yeah. Other than that, you really don't want to be on because that means something bad has happened. Gosh, that's a really good question. Wow, maybe someone like, I would love to interview maybe someone who would like tell the full truth about Epstein.
Oh, that's
you know, like no holds bar, inside information.
Well, apparently he's still alive, so maybe try and interview him.
No, he's in Palm Beach. Yeah, didn't you see it?
Palm
like
Beach
I saw that. Yeah.
And then that guy actually did an interview that they thought was Epstein. Oh, and there was a woman in Montreal that they say is Ghislaine, that she's not really in prison.
Of course.
I mean, I think that could be really fascinating if someone was willing to like really tell the whole story.
Yeah. Which is possible. Maybe that will happen at some point. Yeah. But yeah.
Or like, you know, anyone who's willing to open up, like Tom Cruise, if he would tell all about Scientology or like, I don't know, just something that we don't like know about. If somebody was really ready to be no holds bar and just anything you wanted to ask them, that would be interesting. So if you can think of any like conspiracies or I think that'd be cool.
Good question. Yeah. I'm trying to think who that'd be for me. How about you?
You're going to laugh, but I would love to interview Joe Exotic, Tiger King.
Oh, Tiger King. Oh, yeah.
It's just interesting. Maybe because of the whole, we didn't have anything to do during COVID. That's why.
Yeah. Well, that story was brought up in our Dateline morning meeting before it was like on Netflix. And I was like, this story is going to be huge. Yeah. I just knew it. I didn't say anything out loud, but I was like, this is a big one. Yeah. And I was right.
Yeah, no, were you ever? And you've gone on to, you told me last night at dinner, you've written 30 movies.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had been that. I knew it had been a lot. I think so brilliant because I'm guessing some of the murder mysteries that you've done, just pulling from some of your experiences and drawing inspiration. When did you first decide that you wanted to start writing scripts?
Yeah, most of them. So like I really ended up doing mostly Hallmark movies, but I started with Lifetime.
Yeah.
Which is murder mystery.
Yeah.
And I cold emailed a producer that I kind of figured out their email address, and he called me and he said, I'm willing to, work with you if you have any ideas. And I mean, this man, like, his name is Pierre David and he's from Canada. And I mean, he pays nothing, but it didn't matter. It was like, this is the experience. And it was, for me, it was like graduate school. Pierre helping me,
Wow.
Do this. It was really just awesome that he was like, because I knew nothing. Like, I'd never written a script, no idea, no classes, no nothing. And he just worked with me and helped me. And I totally owe him for, getting into the movie writing business. And then eventually I moved on to Hallmark and cold emailed the former CEO, Bill Abbott, who agreed to meet me for coffee. And next thing I knew, we were doing a mystery series, and then just started doing
What's
Christmas
it called again?
movies.
The mystery series is called
Ruby Herring Mysteries, which was had a few movies with this heroine Ruby. Awesome. It was not a series, but like a movie wheel sort of, I guess they call it. And then I started doing Christmas movies and other rom-coms that were not mystery related. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you've been wondering about there, Everett?
No, it's covered a lot of it. I mean, the Charlie Sheen thing was intriguing.
I wanted to ask you how you find time to do what you accomplish during the course of a day. And also, as I said, you have 6 beautiful children that have turned out amazingly. They're just such great kids. Your husband, Tony, who we're going to actually be having on the podcast, busy guy as well.
Yeah, everybody's busy. Kids are busy.
You
We're
must be
busy.
very organized.
Yeah, organized. And I have a nanny, who comes during the day, and Tony works close to home, so that helps.
Oh, that's good.
I have a lot of time on planes.
Yeah.
That gives me time to work on the scripts. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. You
just make it work.
Yeah, or maybe the kids are watching a movie and I'm with them watching the movie, but I'm on my laptop.
Yeah.
I'm physically with them and they're watching a movie anyway. So I'm typing away. Like, it's all the little moments, right? That I don't need to be like staring at them watching a movie, So like
a movie they've seen 5 times before already.
Right.
Anyway.
So, it's just, you just grab those times or even in the car. Thankfully, I don't get car sick. So, when we drive back over to Jupiter, I'll be in the car on my computer.
Yeah. And you have to commute, right? Because you're in Rye and you have to go into Manhattan to get to NBC,
I
right?
don't, I am on the road so much that I don't go into the office that much because my office is sometimes just
the world
out there in the world.
Yeah,
and frankly, it's easier now to do my podcast, Dateline True Crime Weekly, from my house because you got to get the space and you got to over at 30 Rock and the voiceovers, you got to book a booth and you got to get an engineer. And we're at the point now where I do my voiceovers called tracks from my iPhone in my bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot more convenient and easy than.
Well, you were doing one up, trying to do one up in your hotel room
here at this beautiful hotel,
Palmetto Marriott Resort and Spa.
Yes, I was like.
But your husband was being too loud because he was on his
morning meeting. Yeah, so that was, and then so I had to wait until his meeting was over, and then I started doing my voiceovers, and then
we pulled you down here.
Yes,
there's not a lot of unused moments in your days.
No,
it's
not at all.
And I was gonna say just. You travel a lot. Or is there anything in particular you look for in a hotel or when you're traveling that helps you with your creature comforts or helps you be more creative?
I mean, I'm a Marriott person, like for my hotels, because you start collecting the points, right? And then you're in, and I just like the hotels, So I like the consistency that you know what you're getting, and they're just always really nice. And this hotel is beautiful. It's like the rooms are amazing. And like when I'm on the road and I check in to a room like the ones here, I'm so happy because we stay in, sometimes we go to these really small towns and there is no like chain.
Yeah.
Right. And you're staying in a total dump.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is like I don't like it here, but like there's nowhere else to stay.
And does that compromise your ability to do your job? Obviously,
I mean,
it makes it more challenging.
I just still have to get it done.
Yeah.
But it's just, oh my gosh, when you're in a nice hotel,
Yeah.
it's just so much better. Like you just feel better, right? You're away from home and like you want to feel good, right?
Yeah.
And then when you go into a really gross hotel, you're just like I want to go home.
Well, we went up to the Oyster River Rooftop Restaurant here at
delicious.
Palmetto Marriott.
Delicious.
Isn't it beautiful?
Delicious. The sushi was incredible.
Incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Views,
amazing.
a panoramic view of the river and
Beautiful.
the ocean. And
Beautiful.
we watched the sun setting and
love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And also we've got this podcast studio here, Palmetto Studios, we call it. And then we've got the Florida Central Yard out here. So
this is the first time I've seen a podcast studio at a hotel.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty.
you've been to a lot of hotels, I'm guessing.
A lot.
Yeah.
So if you have so many people have podcasts now. So like this is such a luxury. If you're on vacation or you're in town for work and you need a space, I'm sure anyone can come ask you, right?
You could have done your voiceovers. I could have hooked you up, but next time.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, that's cool. I feel like innovative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well,
nice.
On that note, thanks again you're so busy. And as we said, no second goes unused in your day. So thanks for spending many seconds with us here.
Of course. And if anyone wants to follow me, Andrea Canning on Instagram, you can find out all my like updates on when my shows are airing or when my podcast, Dateline True Crime Weekly drops every Thursday morning.
Awesome.
And then our original Datelines are on Friday nights at 9:00. And then I also host the syndicated Datelines with Craig Melvin. So those are on during the day and, many, many times.
Yes. Yeah. Ubiquitous.
Beyond that.
Yeah. 100%. Well, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's been really fun growing up with you. And keep up the great work.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Loved it.
Thank you.